I wasn't supposed to be there that weekend. My parents were out of town, her husband was busy with errands, and the house should have been empty except for the echo of old furniture and the faint smell of detergent. But she had called earlier that week, asking if I could help move some boxes from the basement. Now the narrow hallway felt like a tunnel and every sound too sharp, as if the walls themselves could overhear. She was waiting in the kitchen when I walked in, backlit by a thin slice of afternoon sun through the blinds. A mug of coffee steamed in her hand. The other hand rested on a cardboard box. "You're a lifesaver," she said with a small smile. Her voice was calm, but there was something in the way she looked at me, a kind of measuring pause that hadn't been there last summer. I set my backpack down and followed her into the basement. The steps creaked under our weight. The air grew cooler, carrying a smell of dust and old paint. Boxes were stacked against the far wall like silent witnesses. She bent to open one, strands of hair slipping loose from her bun, and for a second I caught myself staring. She noticed. Instead of frowning, she gave a brief, almost amused tilt of her head. "You've grown," she murmured, handing me a box heavier than it looked. Our hands brushed. Not a dramatic touch, just skin against skin, but enough to send a pulse through me. She didn't pull away immediately. "Careful with that one," she said softly. Her eyes flicked toward the small window at the top of the wall, where voices from outside floated in, neighbors chatting, someone's radio playing faintly. I carried the box up and set it by the stairs. When I turned back, she was standing close, holding another box but not moving. "We'll finish faster if we keep the door shut," she said, closing the basement door with a soft click. "Less draft." The way she said it made the space feel even smaller. Dust swirled in the shaft of sunlight from the window, glinting like tiny secrets. She reached for another box but paused, fingers curling over the edge. "Listen," she said quietly. "What we talk about down here stays down here. Your mom doesn't need a full report of every detail." Her tone was light but deliberate, a rule disguised as a joke. She stepped closer, lowering her voice further. "I won't tell if you don't." I swallowed, unsure how to answer. Above us the phone rang sharp, insistent. She didn't move to answer it. "It's probably nothing," she whispered, though her eyes darted toward the ceiling. Footsteps passed on the sidewalk outside, the sound distorted through the window. For a moment it felt as if someone might come down the stairs at any second. I shifted the box in my hands. "Do you want me to check who's calling?" "No," she said quickly. "Just stay here for a minute." She brushed past me, her shoulder grazing mine, and moved toward the shelves at the back of the basement. The faint scent of her perfume mixed with dust and detergent. The phone stopped ringing, but the silence it left behind felt heavier than the noise. I set the box down and turned to go upstairs. Before I could reach the steps, she caught my wrist, not roughly, just a light grip that made me freeze. Her eyes were dark and steady. "Stay," she said. "There's more downstairs. You can go after." Something creaked above us, floorboards, maybe the front door. She glanced upward, then back at me. Her hand tightened just a fraction before letting go. I hesitated, halfway to the stairs. She tilted her head toward the far corner of the basement. "Help me with the heavier ones first," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes flicked again to the ceiling as if listening for someone else. I took a breath, set my foot back on the basement floor, and turned toward her, the boxes, and whatever this was becoming. The storm started just before sunset. Not a loud one, just a steady curtain of rain that blurred the windows and filled the house with a quiet, restless sound. Upstairs, the rooms felt warmer than before, the air thick from closed windows and something else. Something neither of us had said out loud. After we finished in the basement, I followed her up to the living room. She moved slower now, like she wasn't in a rush for me to leave. "Sit for a bit," she said, nodding toward the couch. "You've earned it." I hesitated but sat. The living room was dim, lit only by a tall floor lamp in the corner. Its yellow glow left shadows behind the furniture. The TV was off. Music played softly from her phone on the kitchen counter. Something jazzy and low, nearly drowned by the rain. She returned a moment later with 2 mugs. Not coffee this time. Herbal tea still steaming. She handed me one, and when I reached for it, our fingers touched again. This time, neither of us pulled away quickly. She sat down next to me, close, but not quite touching. Her robe was tied loosely over a thin tank top now, her hair down and damp at the ends. She looked younger like that, or maybe just less distant. "I used to sit here like this when you were a kid," she said softly. "You'd crawl onto this couch and fall asleep halfway through every movie." She smiled, but her eyes didn't match the smile. "You don't remember, do you?" I shook my head. "Not really. I remember this blanket, though." I reached for the folded knit throw on the armrest. A deep forest green, worn soft from years of use. "That old thing," she laughed. "I think it still smells like fireplace smoke." I held it for a second, then set it across both our laps without thinking. She didn't move away. In fact, she shifted slightly closer. Her knee touched mine. Neither of us mentioned it. The air felt thicker, not hot, just slow, charged, like a held breath. The kind of silence that has weight. Then came the buzzing. Her phone lit up across the room, screen flashing with an incoming call. We both turned toward it. "Jason," she muttered. "Her husband." The name looked harsh on the screen in the warm light. She didn't move to answer. "Should you get it?" I asked, my voice barely above the rain. "No," she said simply. "He'll think I'm in the bath. I'll call back later." The screen dimmed. The phone buzzed again a second later, once, then again. She exhaled slowly. "You know," she said, her tone different now, lower, edged with something else. "You're not a kid anymore." My heart thudded. She leaned in just a little. Not enough to close the space, but enough to make it clear she could. I looked down, at the green blanket, at the edge of her hand beside mine, and then at the bracelet. She was wearing it again. Silver, delicate, with a thin clasp. I'd seen it before, but never noticed it like this. It glinted faintly under the lamp. She caught me looking. "This?" she said, touching it with her other hand. "It was a gift. Years ago. I don't wear it often." "Why now?" I asked. Her answer was quiet. "Sometimes it helps to remember who you used to be. Before." "Before what?" She didn't say. The bracelet became a symbol in that moment. Not just jewelry. A thread of something hidden, past, present, risk. She reached for her mug, and as she did, the side of her hand grazed mine again. This time it lingered, just long enough to make my throat dry. And then we heard it. Footsteps outside. Not upstairs. Right outside the front door. Slow, heavy, unmistakable. She stiffened. I froze. We both turned toward the door, like it might open at any second. But the footsteps passed, kept moving. A neighbor walking their dog, maybe. Still, her breathing didn't steady right away. She set her mug down, eyes still on the door. Then she looked back at me. Her voice was softer now, but steady. "I need to go upstairs for a bit," she said. "You can stay if you want. Finish your tea." I nodded, unsure of what staying would mean. She stood slowly, took a step away, then paused. Without turning around, she added, "Tomorrow morning, before anyone else is up, check the attic. The key's in the second drawer." And just like that, she disappeared up the stairs, barefoot, silent. I sat there a long moment, listening to the rain and the fading hum of her steps. The green blanket still covered my lap, and the bracelet shimmered faintly across the room, left behind on the armrest. The attic was colder than I expected. Early morning light pushed in through the small window under the eaves, cutting a sharp beam across the floorboards. Dust floated in the air like it was holding its breath. I stepped quietly, careful not to let the wooden boards creak too loud beneath my shoes. The house was still. No sound from the bedrooms. No footsteps. Only the faint patter of rain on the roof from the night before, still lingering in the gutters. I had found the key exactly where she said it would be. Second drawer of the hallway dresser, beneath a folded scarf and a bundle of old receipts. I should have felt guilty when I picked it up. Maybe I did. But guilt had started to feel a lot like anticipation. The attic wasn't filled with much. Old chairs, some stacked boxes, a mirror leaning against the wall with a sheet over it. But it felt alive somehow, like it had been waiting. I turned when I heard the stairs creak. She stepped up carefully, one hand on the rail, dressed in a long cardigan over a t-shirt and soft pants. No makeup, hair tied loose. She looked different, or maybe just real. "You found it," she said. Her voice wasn't surprised. I nodded. "Didn't wake anyone." She closed the attic door gently behind her. The click of the latch was quiet. Too quiet. We stood facing each other for a second too long. Then she crossed the floor and sat down on the edge of an old trunk. "I used to come up here to hide," she said, almost to herself, "when I first moved in, before I figured out how to live downstairs." I didn't know what to say, so I sat across from her. The silence stretched. Not empty, just thick. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the silver bracelet. "I think you should hold on to it," she said. I blinked. "Why?" She looked down. "Because I don't know what I'm doing anymore, but you make it feel less wrong." The bracelet rested in her palm, and for the first time, it didn't look like a secret. It looked like a question. I reached out slowly, and she let me take it. My fingers curled around the cool metal. Her hand didn't move away right away. Her thumb brushed mine before slipping back. We both heard it at the same time, footsteps. Heavy ones. Not upstairs, but coming up the main staircase. Voices. A man's voice. And another, laughing, talking loudly. Her eyes widened. She stood in a single, fluid motion, crossing to the window and peeking out through the side of the curtain. "It's Jason," she whispered. "And his brother. He wasn't supposed to be back until noon." I froze. "Does he know I'm here?" "He knows you helped with the boxes. But he doesn't know about this." Her voice dropped, her eyes sharp now. "You need to get out. Quiet." There was only one way, back down the attic stairs, into the hall, past the guest room, and out through the back door. But that meant timing. That meant risk. I looked at the bracelet in my hand. A secret. A symbol. Now a choice. I tucked it into my pocket. She crossed to the mirror and tugged the sheet back over it. Her hands were shaking slightly. "I'm sorry," I said. She looked at me. And then, softly, clearly, she said, "I'm not." It hit me harder than I expected. Not the words. The way she looked at me when she said them. Like she'd already crossed whatever line I was still staring at. Her voice broke the moment. "Wait 10 seconds after I go down. Then move fast. Don't let them see you." I nodded. She moved to the door, hand on the knob, then turned back and grabbed a small folded note from the edge of the shelf. "Here," she said. "Read it later." She pressed it into my palm and left. Her footsteps down the stairs were careful, measured. I heard the door open below, greetings exchanged. A laugh. ice clinking into glasses. 10 seconds. Then I moved. Down the stairs. Past the half-open guest room. Through the hallway. The back door opened with a slight groan. I winced. And then I was outside, into the cold air, the smell of wet leaves and morning. Only when I was 2 blocks away did I open the note. 3 words, written in blue ink. Come back tonight. I didn't sleep that night. I kept checking my phone, rereading the note over and over. Come back tonight. But I couldn't. Not with her husband in the house, not with other people around. Not when everything felt one step from collapse. By morning, 3 unread messages from Mom, 2 from my friend Ben, a reminder about dinner plans that evening. I ignored them all. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I turned my phone off. Not silent. Not do not disturb. Off. The world outside that choice stopped existing for a while. At exactly 3:30 p.m., I walked the long way to her house, through side streets, past the park, avoiding the sidewalk near her block, just in case someone saw me. The back gate was unlocked, just like last summer, when I'd sneak in to grab cold drinks from the outdoor fridge without anyone noticing. Only this time I wasn't thirsty. I knocked once on the glass of the laundry room door. It slid open before I could knock again. She stood there, in a soft gray sweater and dark jeans. No makeup, hair tied up. Her eyes held a storm she didn't try to hide this time. Come in, she said quietly. He's gone, just for a few hours. I stepped inside. Everything smelled like detergent and something sharper. Lemons, cleaning spray. Her attempt to erase the tension from the rooms, maybe, or a way to keep her hands busy while waiting. We moved through the kitchen without speaking. She led me upstairs, not to the attic, not to her bedroom, to the study, a small room with old books, a desk, and a window that looked out onto the garden. Neutral territory. Safe, but not really. She closed the door. I didn't think you'd come, she said. I almost didn't. She nodded. But you did. We stood there for a second, the silence pressing in. She sat down on the window bench. I stayed by the desk, unsure if I should speak first. So she did. I think he knows something. I looked up. Jason. She nodded. He kept asking weird questions last night. About you. About the attic. I said I was reorganizing boxes that you just helped and left. He didn't push, but he watched me, like he was waiting for something to slip. The air felt heavy again, but colder this time. Realer. I shouldn't have asked you to come, she said. It was selfish. I took a step closer. Then why did you? She looked at me. No hesitation now. No veil. Because no one sees me anymore, she said. Not really. Not for years. I didn't move. She went on, voice low. He hasn't touched me in 6 months. Maybe longer. We don't talk. We just orbit. Like 2 people trapped in someone else's idea of a marriage. I sat beside her, but left space between us. I used to think it was normal, she said, that this is what happens after a decade, after routines, after disappointments. But then, she trailed off. I waited. But then you came over with that box of tools, and you looked at me like I mattered. I stared down at my hands. They looked older today. Or maybe I just felt older than I was. I'm not trying to trap you in something messy, she said. I just needed someone to see me, really see me, even just once. Outside, a car drove by, slowed, then sped up again. We both turned toward the window. She stood and pulled the curtain halfway. Someone's been parking across the street a lot lately, she said. Same car, same time. Jason says it's nothing. But I'm not so sure anymore. The bracelet lay on the edge of the desk. I hadn't noticed it until now. She must have put it there after I left yesterday. I picked it up slowly. This time she didn't watch me. It wasn't a secret anymore. It was hers, and she was offering it again. I wrapped it around my wrist without asking. She looked back at me, eyes wet but steady. If you want to leave, now's the time. I didn't move. Dinner at my parents' is in an hour, I said. I told them I had a headache. She smiled faintly. Lying doesn't suit you. Neither does pretending nothing happened. A beat passed between us. Then she reached forward, slowly, and took my hand in both of hers. No teasing this time. No whispers. Just contact. I don't know where this is going, she said. But if you come tomorrow, I'll tell you everything. All of it. No more hiding. My chest tightened. What time? I asked. Her lips curved just slightly. Midday. Upstairs. I'll leave the door unlocked. Her fingers squeezed mine, then let go. We both heard it then, footsteps outside. Fast. Crunching gravel. Someone approaching the side gate. She moved like lightning, opening the closet, motioning me in. I didn't argue. Inside was dark and tight, filled with coats and the faint scent of cedar. The study door opened. Jason's voice. Low. Searching. Thought I heard something, he muttered. Just me, she replied from the window. I dropped a book. Footsteps retreated. The door clicked shut again. A long pause. Then, a knock on the closet door. I held my breath. It was her hand. One tap. Then silence. Noon came with silence. No birds, no wind. Just the distant ticking of a wall clock somewhere downstairs, and the muffled hum of a lawnmower 2 streets over. The house felt paused, as if waiting for something to happen. I slipped in through the side door she always left unlocked. The kitchen was empty. The coffee pot was still warm. A folded dish towel hung evenly on the oven handle, as if she'd placed it that way with intention. I moved through the hallway slowly, every step across the wooden floor loud in my own ears. When I reached the stairs, I stopped. Not from fear, but from knowing that whatever happened next would settle everything. Her door was open. She stood by the window in a soft white shirt and jeans, her hair pulled back simply. No makeup, no mask. She didn't flinch when I stepped inside. She turned slowly and looked at me the same way she had in the basement, and in the attic, and in the study. But today, there was no hesitation in her eyes. She didn't say anything. She just held out her hand. I took it. That was the culmination. No speech, no sudden kiss, no dramatic music. Just skin on skin, fingers folding gently together, as if we'd already made the choice a dozen times in smaller ways. She stepped closer. My forehead touched hers. We stayed like that for seconds that felt like whole days. Then she pulled away, just enough to whisper, "You can't stay. I know. If he finds out, I know." And yet, I looked down at her hand in mine. "You're still here," she finished. I nodded. That was the choice. Not an answer carved in stone, but one we could carry quietly. Epilogue weeks later. It's been 3 weeks. I moved back into my apartment near campus. Life picked up again. Classes, part-time work, texts from friends, weekends that disappeared without memory. On the surface, nothing changed, but I stopped wearing the bracelet. I kept it though. It's in the drawer by my bed, wrapped in the same tissue paper she gave it to me in, tucked between notebooks and old photos. Every Wednesday, around noon, I walk to the park near her neighborhood. She walks there too. We never plan it, never confirm it, but it happens anyway. She brings a book. I bring coffee. We sit 5 benches apart. She doesn't look at me, not directly, Just a glance through sunglasses or a brush of her fingers through her hair that lasts 1 second too long. That's the new ritual. Nothing spoken, but everything said. Today I arrived early. The bench was still empty. The light was soft, golden through the trees. I sat, waited, looked around, and then I saw it. A small folded note tucked between the slats of the bench. My name written in blue ink. Next time, don't be late.